Maybe you've lost your mind, you've lost your sanity.
Hello again. Welcome back to Women Need to Do Better. I am your host, Shelly Kirschman, a confidence coach, here to help high-performance women, leaders just like you, reclaim your power, energy, and time. In this podcast, it's all about empowering you, me, all of us, so that we can be confident in all the aspects of our life, whether that's work, if it's family, friends, but most importantly, it's how we show up for ourselves. So in each episode, I talk about different situations that we've all been through and get into the nitty-gritty of how we can start doing more for ourselves, stop overgiving, start setting stronger boundaries, and basically take care of ourselves, because we know we can't pour from an empty cup. So we need to stop judging ourselves, stop putting so much on our plate, stop criticizing ourselves, and start focusing on what we need so we can thrive without sacrificing our well-being. It is a good thing to be selfish. So let's get selfish together so we can do more for others, because that's really what we want to do. We are givers. And last episode number 9, was all about the elephants, which is that negative self-talk in our head that we try to ignore, and the skeletons in our closet, those unresolved issues that we pretend don't really impact us, or that we put off for later because we just don't have the time to deal with it right now. So we're on episode 10. Oh my gosh. Yes, we've gotten through 10 episodes already. And I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper, where this episode 10 is enough is enough. Letting go of that never-ending checklist. So, got a question for you guys. Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, it is never enough? Like, even though you know that your plate is so full, you still feel like there's something more that you should be doing. That is a stage for self-sabotage. Those internal pressures, that negative self-talk, that we're never enough struggle. And I know that I've dealt with it too. I feel like, and this was like a few days ago. I felt like, God, I am doing so much. I feel like I never have time for myself. And so, you know what? Today's the day I'm just not going to do a whole lot. I'm just going to do the bare minimum. Have you all felt like that? You just want to do the bare minimum because you're tired and you feel like, I've earned this. I deserve this. And then I don't do as much. And as the day wears on, I start seeing that checklist I have on the fridge. I look at the pile of books that I'm writing content in, and got my little checklist going, and I see all those empty boxes that I haven't checked off yet. And I'm telling you, I'm a confidence coach, but I still have work to do on myself. I'm never done. We are never done. And sometimes that's part of the problem. We're never done. And we don't like that answer. We don't really want to accept that our work is never done. But part of us likes that our work is never done because it gives us value. It gives us something to do. It ties us to something that we can be proud of, but it's a vicious cycle. And when you start leaning into that negative self-talk that drives us to say, you still have things that you need to do. And if you take it easy today, that puts so much more on your plate tomorrow. How many of you guys have felt like that? And it doesn't seem to matter how much you do, how hard you work, how many things you have checked off that list. There's always something else. There's always something more. And then you feel like you're falling behind. I know for me personally, that's one of the biggest reasons why I don't feel good about taking time for myself. It's because the less I do today, the more I have to do tomorrow. And it's like that constant hamster wheel. And then you feel guilty for not taking time for yourself, right? And so then it's like, do we take time for ourselves? Is taking time for ourselves procrastinating? What things should we say yes? What things should we say no? Are we lowering our standards? And it's that perfectionism in us. And of course, we start comparing ourselves to other people. Well, so and so down the street seems to have it all together. I can't believe that she does this, and this, and she volunteers and she works and she, still has time to look amazing. And the thing is, we really don't know what's behind the scenes. We really don't know what's behind the curtain, what other women are dealing with. Do they get more help than you? Do they have less responsibility than you? You want to know what the answer is? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's not your life. It's not your concern. It doesn't matter what someone else is doing. It really doesn't. It matters what you're doing. It matters how much you have in your cup to pour out to do all the things that you want to do. It matters how you take care of yourself, because how you take care of yourself is going to matter on how you show up. And when you show up overwhelmed, stressed, not patient, we have less energy. When you show up where you are just doing too much and you don't have enough space or time in your schedule to pivot when things get thrown at you, that's when we have less energy, less patience, and we are harder on ourselves because we recognize that and we know we can do better. So how do we break that cycle? How do we get out of that vicious, I need to take time for myself, but I can't take time for myself because then I'm not going to get things done, right? And we feel like we have to do it all because if we don't do it, who's going to do it for us? I still sometimes struggle with that. And I just have myself, my cat, and my husband in my household right now. And I take care of my grandkids 3 days a week. And I do my podcast twice a week. But I love doing that. And I'm trying to put out content consistently, which in the last couple of weeks, I'll be honest, I've fallen off the train a little bit. And I know it's because I am not doing what I need to for my own mental peace. I've kind of stopped doing my morning routine of the stuff for me, the time that I need to meditate, the time that I need to go on a walk out in nature, the time I need to reconnect with myself. And when I lose that, I lose the energy. I lose some of what I'm about. I am so passionate about helping myself to be better. I'm passionate about helping my husband, my children, my friends. I'm meeting so many wonderful people. And I want to do everything for everyone, and I can't. And I know I can't, but I want to. And so the first step to help me break that cycle is having grace. I understand that I'm human. And I understand that as much of an example as I want to be for everybody, I also want to be an example of what it is to be realistic, to be honest with myself that I'm going to fail sometimes. I'm not going to be able to juggle those millions of things and keep it up in the air for as long as I really think I want to. And sometimes it's kind of God's way to say, hey, I got this. You can take a break. Come in and hang out with me. Come and hang out with yourself. And it's true that sometimes we need that overwhelm to our breaking point because we are such powerhouses that it sometimes takes that breaking point for us to be like, oh my gosh, okay, I am really taking on way too much. I do need to kind of step back. And that's the things that I'm talking about. These are the things that we high powered women do. We try to take on so much that we are go, 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 that we forget that it doesn't all have to be done today, or that we don't have to do all the things for everybody as much as we want to, that we do get to be picky sometimes. We do get to say no. We do get to say, you know what? That's not quite as important as these other things that I'm already committed to. And I need to stop thinking that I've got enough time to do everything and look at everything and help everybody. Because when we're helping too many people, when we're doing too many of the things, then we can't even really focus on the big things that are so important to us. And when we can't focus on the big things that are super important to us, that's when that elephant starts coming back in the room. That's when those skeletons start making noises in our closet. That's when we have to challenge ourselves and look at all the things that we have on our plate and say, you know, am I really not doing enough? Do I really need to take on more? And you might be surprised of how much you actually are doing. Write it down. Shift that awareness, which is the first step to breaking free from that negative self-talk, is to acknowledge, to write it down, to put it on paper so you can't deny it. Celebrate those small wins. Remind yourself of all the progress that you've made already. We're never going to be perfect, and that's okay. We strive for perfection, but we also need to accept the fact that not everything will be perfect, because we know we rock at a lot of things. We know we are awesome, amazing, and perfect with some things. And that's what we're aiming for, is realistic expectations. And let's stop with the impossible standards for ourselves, because all it does is I can't even say it, inevitably, it'll lead to feeling like a failure, feeling like we're letting ourselves down, feeling like we're letting everybody else down. And that's not okay, because that's not what we are. That's not how other people see us. And it's really interesting when you start having conversations with the people in your support team, in your inner circle, the people that really know you, and especially other women that are high performers like you. They are the ones that recognize how much you do. And do yourself a favor, ask them. Ask them if they think that you're doing enough. Because sometimes we need to hear it from someone else. You'll find that the things that you overlook can be things that are huge to somebody else. And in fact, I had somebody tell me, and I love the fact that she told me this, because I felt so seen and related to in that moment. Because I was talking about how I don't know how I can't just get all this stuff done. I mean, it's so easy. It should be so easy to be able to handle the house and run a business and watch the grandkids and make sure that I am trying to read everybody's mind and figure out all these meals and make sure that I don't run out of anything in the house and manage the budget and make sure that I get things mailed out and make sure I don't miss any deadlines and make sure that you manage everybody else's calendar as well. Oh, and don't forget about the doctor's appointments. And oh, did you make sure that that annual, subscription was mailed in and whatever else it is? And my friend said to me, you handle a lot. What would they do if you didn't? They would be lost without you. And it's not a thing that I need my ego stroked, but sometimes I need to pull my head out of this unrealistic expectation that I'm not enough and that somehow I need to be doing more. Maybe the more that I need to be doing is recognizing, setting those boundaries. Maybe the more that I need to be doing is to say, hey, someone else can take this piece off my plate and handle it. It's not too much. And for me, it's not about control. And then again, it is. Because here's the thing that I struggle with. And I think that someone else out here listening to my podcast can say, yeah, I can see that in me too. So when I first started working on this whole make time for yourself, Shelley, carve out that time because it's so important and stop trying to control everything. I fought it. I am not trying to control everything. I don't need to control everything. It's just if I don't do it, nothing gets done. And that right there, that is the control. That is that piece. Because I'll give you an example. I was saying, okay, I have to do the dishes all the time because if I don't do the dishes, they're not going to get done. And my husband hates doing dishes. And I'm not even sure how this became a thing, why he got to decide he doesn't want to do dishes, so therefore he doesn't have to. And I don't like doing dishes. I didn't get an option to opt out. I guess I missed that memo. But when my friend said, well, what happens if you just don't do the dishes? And I said, well, if I don't do the dishes and he doesn't do the dishes, then the dishes are just going to keep piling up until we don't have any more dishes to do. And then I'm just going to have more dishes to do, which is why I want to just do the dishes, because if I don't do it now, right, that means I have more to do later. And it does come down to control. Controlling myself because I can't control other people. Now, maybe that's a bad example. I don't know. You can be the judge. He doesn't like doing dishes. He won't do dishes. And I've been able to get him to do some of the dishes, like his own, because I have a routine. And I posted that on my Thankful Thursday this morning on my Facebook, where I have this habit and I don't know where it came from. And it's okay with me. I'm going to own it. I'm going to keep it. And it's not a big deal, but I cannot start breakfast or start cooking until all the dishes in my sink are clean. Like I wash my dishes in my sink to put them in my dishwasher to wash them so they're disinfected. And I know some people out there are like, why do you wash your dishes twice? Because I want them clean. That's why. Because I have this, I don't know what you want to call it, but it stems from when I was growing up and even, my early 20s, when people would help me do dishes and they would hand wash them, it would still have crap on them. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe they don't run their hand on it while they're rinsing it off to make sure that all the food particles were washed off or something. So I like to wash the dishes before I put them in the dishwasher, and I like the dishwasher to really, really wash them. So anyways, that is my thing. I cannot start cooking until my sink is clean. So I've made this as part of my routine. So I do my dishes, and then that way nothing is in the sink. So that way after my husband finishes his breakfast, He'll put his dishes in the sink and he will rinse them and he'll put them in the dishwasher. So he still doesn't do dishes, but it's my compromise that works for me and works for him. So that way I don't have to do his dishes. I feel like I do enough things. I would like him to do that. And it was a little bit of a struggle because he was like, I'm not going to wash my dishes before I put it in the dishwasher. That's just ridiculous. And so that control thing, right? I said, I don't need you to wash the dishes before you put it in the dishwasher. I just need you to put your dishes in the dishwasher. And if you could rinse off the food, that would be great. I would love that. So he does. And when I put the dishes away, there's no food particles on it. So I'm happy. So it was my workaround. But like I said, it's not about control, but then part of it is. Because we have to give up control over certain things. And we get to pick and choose what those things are. So what are you too tightly controlling on? What do you feel like you can't give up because it won't be done your way or it won't be done at all? I know those were the types of things that I struggled a lot with. Is I want to give up control because I don't want to run anybody's life. I don't want to have to do it all. But sometimes that means if you're living with somebody else, that you have to kind of figure out some balance without telling them that they have to do something, because you don't want to be the boss of them. You want them to do it because they want to do it. Or maybe that's just me. I want someone to want to help me because that's what matters to me. When you want to help me, it tells me that you care about me. It tells me that you see me. You see all the things that I do and you acknowledge that, whatever that means to you. To me, when you can think of it yourself and be like, wow, you know what? She's doing this and this and this and this and this. If I were to just wash my dish or rinse it off and put it in the dishwasher, it's one less thing for her to do. And if it makes her happy, I can do that. And there are so many other things that we can apply that to. So I just want to help you guys recognize, and me, I am talking to myself too. When I'm doing these podcasts, I'm not just talking to my audience, I am talking to the mirror of me. What can I do to break that cycle of thinking that I'm not doing enough? Number one is the grace. Having grace for myself to recognize that I am only one person. There's only 24 hours in the day. And I need to be fair and kind to myself. So the awareness of what I actually handle. Am I really doing what I need to? Am I handling more than I need to? And some of those things that I'm handling really don't need to be done. And the reason I brought up the dishes thing is because I know that I could save time if I didn't do dishes so frequently, but it's just a me thing. And I'm okay with that because I will find other ways to save my time. And the next thing I want you guys to recognize after you have the grace for yourself is really think about what you have control over and what you're trying to keep control over. Are there things that you can delegate? Are there certain things that you can just let them go? And then two more things. The next thing is write down all the things that you've done. Celebrate your small wins. If you actually wrote down all the things, and sometimes on certain days when I need it, I do a reverse checklist. And what I mean by a reverse checklist is I do something, then I write it on the list. And try it just 1 or 2 days. Just try that. Write down what you've done after you've done it and then cross it off. Because number one, it feels so good to cross it off. And number two, It feels wonderful to build a to-do list that is complete. I don't know if I'm the only one out here that feels like that, but I've gone through my list book. I have a book that has, a checklist where you can put in the date. And so every day I turn the page, and I've gone through that in both different mental states. In a mental state where I'm looking to see, wow, look at all these checklists I've had, and I've gotten so many of them done, and I do a lot. And then I've also gone through that checklist and I've got, oh my gosh, look at all the things I haven't checked off this list. That's that negative self-talk, right? That I had a list of all I don't recognize that, I had 30 things on that list. I'm only looking at the 5 things I didn't check off. I'm looking at the 3 things that keep rolling over to the next day and to the next day and to the next day. But I don't remind myself that that thing that keeps rolling over to the next day and the next day is something that's not able to be done in a day. And the 4th thing I wanted to have you guys leave with is daily affirmations. It's your internal guide to adopt, I love me. I am enough. I am doing everything I can and I'm okay with that. Whatever it is. But have something that you say, maybe 3, 4, 5 things, write down that you are proud of yourself for. And look at that list and read it to yourself out loud in the morning and before you go to bed. Put in that positive energy to yourself. You deserve that. Feed your mind good things. That's the best way that we can be even better, is by talking to ourselves the way we would tell something to our best friend, the way we would encourage each other. When you support yourself and you support others, we all get better. We rise together. And that's really what it's about. It's about networking. It's about being there for each other. And it's about spreading that love and support, that positivity. That is that is the best thing. That is the absolute best thing. When we can help each other and we can be positive without any kind of judgment, we all win. So on Sunday, I'm going to be doing my next podcast. And I wanted to kind of touch on something that's been on my mind about having that feeling like you're alone and you're your own cheerleader. I don't know if I'm the only one that sometimes feels like that, but sometimes that is how I feel. I feel like, am I the only one that is cheering me on? What do you think? So I hope you listened to Sunday's episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and give yourself some credit for all the baby steps and those huge steps, because you are rocking it. Whether you feel it or not, whether you recognize it or not, maybe you need to write it down so you can see it. You can't dispute it when you have it in writing. So thank you so much for listening. I love doing these episodes because it's not just for me, it's for everybody out there that needs to hear it. I know I'm not the only one. And if my message resonates with you, or you know someone who does, please hit subscribe to my podcast and share it. And I would love to hear from you. So if you get a chance, or if you think about it, leave me a comment. Let me know that you loved it, if you related to it. You can even tell me you hated it. I got thick skin, it's okay. Or if you want me to talk about something that you're dealing with, or something that's on your mind, something that you think that I could relate to as well, because chances are you're not the only one. So yeah, hit me up, send me a message. And lastly, my link, I have a stand store in there. I've got a library that has a bunch of different helpful digital products and resources. I would love for you to check that out. If there's something that can help you, please, by all means, take a look. I love you. I will talk to you guys on Sunday. I hope you enjoy these as much as I do. And be blessed and send out that love.